Welcome back, everyone. This is the fourth and final part of a video series looking back at and analyzing Infinity Train. So if you haven't seen the previous three parts, links to those are in the description. Season 1 focused on the pain children and divorced parents go through, and showcased the fact that it is possible to still live a happy, meaningful life despite this major change. Season 2 focused on what it means to be human, what it means to be an individual, and reminded us to always stand up for ourselves, no matter who we are. Season 3 told a story along similar lines, using speciesism as a means to warn the viewer about the dangers of racism, to warn how such a worldview can destroy even the strongest of friendships. These are all deep, serious topics, but to be completely honest, I've been lucky enough not to have to go through them myself. My parents are still happily married. I've never struggled to find myself, and I've always treated those around me as equals. So while Season 4 does not tell as serious of a story as the previous 3 seasons, it's actually the one I relate to the most, and still relate to today. Season 4 of Infinity Train is about chasing your dreams. It's the conflict of dreams versus reality, of optimism versus realism. The season starts off incredibly strong. The entire first episode serves as an introduction to best friends from birth, Ryan and Ming-Gi. We see from the start Ryan's loose upbringing and Min's stereotypically strict childhood. Despite these two different parenting styles though, both boys have a passion for music. From the get-go we see Min's parents discontent with how Min uses this passion, but his friendship with Ryan makes their disapproving glances and remarks more than worth it. As they grow older, they plan to start a band, Chicken Choice Judy, and travel the world together. But Min's parents' influence over him continues to grow. They make Ryan leave one day while they practice in order to have Min learn violin instead, and in high school Min shows up late to their gig. His job, his studies, his parents' expectations occupy the entirety of his life. And when Ryan offers him a way out, the chance to finally pursue his dream, Min runs away. And the screen splits here. We see Ryan go off and try to make a name for Chicken Choice Judy, but each gig gets smaller and smaller. Without his friend, the person he found a passion for music beside, he fails. Meanwhile, Min continues to struggle balancing work, school, and his parents' expectations. His struggles seem to be worth it when he's accepted to the college he applied to, but his reaction is simply relief and lacks any sort of excitement. The next thing we see Min do is look back at a picture of himself and Ryan from back in the day, remembering the good times, remembering their dream. And as he closes up the restaurant he works at, clearly discontent, Ryan walks to the door. One friend on the path to success and the other on the road to failure, both discontent with their current places in the world, reunite. Ryan again offers him their childhood dream, but Min, again, is too caught up in his parents' plan for him to take such a risk. So Min declines the offer. Ryan steals his keys and throws him into the Infinity Train. And so begins their adventure.
Once these two arrive at their seat, it is up to them to sort things out.
And if they don't?
Then they die.
What a way to start what is sure to be an incredible season of television, right? So Ryan and Min wake up in the Iceberg Car, where they immediately meet Kaz, a sentient flying bell. They discover their new clothing and panic. They also notice their numbers and realize they are the same. The Iceberg Car is really creative, if I might add. Having the thermostat control the era rather than the temperature was a really cool idea, executed really well here, especially when it concerns the inhabitants chasing down Kaz, because she's the one that messed up the thermostat. Changing the era doesn't seem like such a big deal, but it actually evolves or devolves the inhabitants, altering their DNA, so clearly they're right to be upset. But Kaz and the crew never apologize, do they? So clearly Kaz is a questionable character. But more importantly, while on the run, rather than work together as a team, all Min and Ryan can do is argue about what to do, and why each of them comes to their conclusions. Min thinks Ryan is acting like a child, while Ryan thinks Min sees him as an idiot. They are able to escape after Kaz randomizes the thermostat, constantly altering the inhabitants' DNA, which sounds extremely painful. Even after they escape, though, Ryan and Min continue to argue, all the while denying they have a problem. They decide to go to Kaz's train car, but must first travel through dozens of other cars, starting with the Old West car, which may be my personal favorite of all the cars in the series. The character designs are all really great, the stink guns were a clever replacement for real ones, the music is a welcome change of pace from the show's norm, and above all else, I love the judge.
Hey, Judge! I mean, Your Honor, I'd like to approach the bench.
Would you now?
When we came into your town, we... Guilty! What? No way!
I sentence you two to the zipper, where you will fry, fry, fry!
I laughed so much during this episode, but it serves as more than just comedy. The episode further showcases the differences between Min and Ryan. Min is far more calculated in what he does, while Ryan's attempts to get them to safety are impulsive. Naturally, such a stark opposite between their actions puts them at odds with each other. But once again, Kaz's antics, and the lack of remorse for her sins, not to mention some help from the cat, get them out of the car. The cat tells them they owe her a favor, but oddly enough, she never calls on them to return it later on in the season. In the pig baby car, Ryan's constant attempts to appease the pig's hunger fail, but when he takes Min's advice, their number goes down. Min comes to the conclusion that the numbers are meant for Ryan rather than himself. This causes their numbers to go back up again, yet Min still holds to the belief that their numbers are unrelated to him, a sign of his arrogance. They once again escape the car without caring about collateral damage. The 5th episode has Min, much like Lake did for Jesse back in Season 2, attempts to help Ryan learn lessons. The episode places the trio outside of a club, and Min continually tries to get Ryan to be patient and wait in line. Ryan, however, as we've seen before, keeps making plans on impulse. And they all fail. So Min tries to walk him through it, in a line that really defines his character.
If you just do everything you're supposed to do, you'll eventually end up where you need to be.
But Ryan doesn't listen and once again runs off on an impulse, this time nearly getting himself killed.
I got you! Come on, I'm right here! How many times do you have to fail to learn the same lesson? I'm stuck on this train because you're too stupid to even learn the most basic lesson.
The scene is very insightful because it showcases each of their problems. Ryan once again runs off on a whim, not bothering to wait for Min, while Min once again is not willing to take any risk and calls Ryan stupid for not doing the same. And it's here at the height of their flaws that Min bumps into an astronaut sitting in the line, and he realizes that all the astronauts are dead. His idea to wait in the line, the idea he's been pushing on Ryan this entire episode, was wrong.
So, waiting didn't work. You can mess up even if you stand still. It's my number 2.
It turns out that the only way in was to pretend to be a band set to play that night. It was only by returning to their roots, to their shared dream, that they were able to succeed. And the next episode focuses on those roots, but not before 1-1 makes a major change to how the train is run. At Amelia's suggestion, he returns all the passengers' clothing and possessions. In the background, Amelia can be heard praising 1-1 for this, pointing out that doing so allows the passengers to better individualize, to better be themselves. This is the best aspect of Season 4, how it further expands the lore of the train and the previously established characters that run it. Amelia can be seen back with 1-1 in the very first episode of the season, actually. She starts off having a positive influence on the train, on 1-1, but eventually, due to the fact that one woman refuses to make her a car with her deceased husband inside, she usurps him. And we actually get to see her in command in the 9th episode, when she tells Ryan and Min that they are on their own, and that one will no longer be looking after them. But anyways, let's get back to the story. The only way out of the party car is to play a good song to further realize their dream. At first, Min is excited and optimistic, but once he sees his keys, the item that symbolizes his responsibilities, he gets nervous. Just like back in high school, his responsibilities keep him from following his desires. And just like in high school, Ryan has to go out on stage alone. But unlike before, these two don't split up. Ryan almost immediately goes to ask Min what the problem is, and Min mentions that he's worried about the longevity of their dream.
Even if we get out of this car, even if we get off this train, even if we become like the best musicians in the world, we're just two Asian guys from BC in a band called Chicken Choice Judy. Can you think of anybody doing what we want to do who look like us?
I think we just gotta do it.
And after their heart-to-heart, the two just sit there in that dirty bathroom. They forget about the weight of the outside world. They forget about Min's parents and his job and his college. They forget about Ryan's failing career. They forget about the train and all the trouble it's brought them. They sit there, and just like when they were young, they play their music together. For the first time this season, they are not bickering. They're not at odds. They're in sync. And they're united. But this union is tested in the following episode, in the art gallery car. There, a mysterious monster slowly eats away at their thoughts, forcing those over whom it gains influence to dwell on negatives. This causes Min to get upset with Ryan for constantly letting him down, for constantly running away, for not being rational, for forcing his problems onto Min. Ryan claims that Min is a waste of his time, only holding him back. Both agree that they cannot wind up like each other, that they don't need each other to succeed. So when Ryan inadvertently leaves without Min, who is sitting there wishing to be by himself, the monster comes out. Because it's done exactly what it wanted to do. It's divided the two, and one is left alone. Ryan sees this and bangs on the door, telling Min he won't leave without him this time. And as he does, his number hits 0, and his door home opens. And he immediately goes back on his word. No, he doesn't go home, but he very much considers it, causing his number to go back up and his door to close. Ryan's problem is now perfectly clear. Back in high school, when Min was too upset to go on stage, Ryan went on without him. Every plan he comes up with, he executes without waiting for his friend. He's impatient, and this leads him to make selfish decisions. So Min eventually escapes the car, in tears as he calls Ryan out for abandoning him. While this particular situation was not so black and white, Ryan's character is. The end of the episode when Min says, "You abandoned me," was extremely powerful, and it's clear that the two are more divided now than ever before. Except that they're not. It should have been extremely difficult for Ryan to overcome this character flaw, even more so for Min to forgive Ryan after this near-death experience. But before they deal with this, Min starts talking about Chicken Choice Judy, about how much success he believes Ryan has. He tells Ryan how discontent he is with his life, his job, his future career. This makes absolutely no sense. Min being so open with the guy who he believes just left him for dead minutes ago very much downplays the severity of the previous episode. Especially after they realize here that everything they said in the art gallery car came from them, not the monster. And even worse, all of Cass's enemies show up in the middle of their conversation and turn what should have been a serious moment for the plot into a somewhat comedic chase scene. This episode went from feeling like an episode of Infinity Train to feeling like an episode of Gravity Falls. It felt silly is what I mean. And all of this is in service to Kaz's development. So they halted the season's primary arc to make room for the secondary. And all this secondary message is a reminder to apologize for your wrongdoings. Sure, this is an important thing to remember, but ultimately it feels childish compared to the show's other messages. Simply put, this message is beneath Infinity Train. But anyways, they get into the castle and shut out their pursuers. The castle, it turns out, is Kaz's roommate Morgan, who was upset with Kaz because she got rid of the castle's previous caretaker. And on top of this, it turns out that the only reason Kaz brought Min and Ryan there was to take up that job. Once again, Kaz does not take other people into account, and simply uses them as pawns to advance her own goals. At first, Ryan and Min are pretty upset with their friend, but they soon realize that all of Kaz's misdeeds stem back to a time when she did something good and was hated for it. It turns out that the castle's caretaker was a passenger, and he only left after Kaz helped him work out his problems. So this whole time Kaz's roommate has been hating her for doing the right thing, which is why she is so reluctant to do good. Min tells her she is good at heart, but needs to work on better expressing that kindness within her. Soon after, Morgan lets in all of Kaz's enemies, hoping they will kill Kaz. But when they finally get to her, Kaz apologizes.
I'm sorry! I tried to ignore everything, but it just keeps hurting everyone. I'm sorry.
And of course, every single one of them, except the Moth, accept this apology and leave. Again, in itself, this is not a bad message, but compared to the previous messages Infinity Train has sent, compared to the one this season should be sending now, it's out of place. And worse, it has taken up most of the 3 final episodes of the season, leaving hardly any time for Min and Ryan to work out their problems, to mend their broken friendship. They simply use Kaz's development as a way to get Ryan and Min to apologize to each other. Min forgives Ryan for almost leaving him to die just like that, and his decision to go with Ryan to New York feels unearned. Ryan apologizes for never waiting for Min and realizes that he wasn't just rushing Min, but himself as well. They both get their doors, and after a humorous goodbye to Kaz, they go home, then set off to New York, starting their new life together on the road. Finally, Ryan and Min's childhood dream has come true. It will be a tough life. They may fail. It may wind up being a train to nowhere, at least you're there. Infinity Train's 4th season is flawed, sure, but the fact that I have made videos on every season of this series and am only just now bringing up issues I have with it is a testament to how solid of a series Infinity Train really is. Each season sent important messages, from how to come to terms with divorce to the importance of chasing your dreams. In a Reddit Q&A, Owen Dennis mentioned many of his ideas for future seasons. One I found particularly interesting was a season about a man slowly succumbing to Alzheimer's, who has to come to terms with his continual loss of his mind. Unfortunately though, the series was recently cancelled by HBO Max. It really is a shame this show has come to such an abrupt end, so I hope that someday it'll be revived. Until that day comes though, we can rest easy, because Infinity Train has been an incredible television series, and I'm sure that, like a tulip, it will someday bounce back. I'd just like to take a moment to thank you for joining me as I went through and analyzed each season of Infinity Train. I'd also like to thank everyone who subscribed because of this. If it weren't for y'all, I wouldn't have hit 100 subscribers. Thank you for that too. Moving forward, unless Infinity Train is renewed, I doubt I will take up this topic again. But if you're interested, there are a lot more TV shows I plan to discuss. Most of them will be single individual videos, but I am currently working on a video series looking back at and analyzing The Legend of Korra. That will start in a few weeks. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Have a good day, and I will see you next time.